Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for taking some time this afternoon to visit about the future of the agency. I wanted to take this time before allowing Anne to visit with you all about the reboot, because now that I've been in office for 7 months, I've had a chance to visit with many of you and receive your direct feedback in terms of addressing the problems of Texans that we face every single day in this organization. And one of the interesting thoughts, I think, and takeaways that I've had is that we face many threats, asymmetric threats, threats that probably weren't around 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And many of the threats really aren't external, though we can say legislators sometimes present those challenges. But externally, we're doing fine. And I think because of our productive legislative session, it's evidence of that. The real threat really is internally. And some of the things that I have seen, along with the leadership and many of you, have to be rectified as soon as possible. First, I believe, is more transparency, understanding operationally what we're doing on a daily basis, not only communicating that more effectively to folks outside of the agency, but internally, understanding what everybody up and down the chain of command is doing on a daily basis, and truly matching up the job descriptions that each and every one of us have with what we are functionally doing. Secondly, under that, I believe that we need to match pay and compensation in the agency with the performance that we're putting in on a daily basis, and truly measuring that on an objective basis. That's something that we need to do a better job of. Secondly, we need to have more ability to hold each other accountable. One of the things that I'd noticed when I came into office was that there were 21 functional areas to the agency reporting to the executive office. It's very easy to pass the buck with a structure like that instead of empowering folks at the director level to have the freedom to empower their own groups to make decisions, on an independent basis, on a daily basis. So holding each other accountable, I think, is important. Not only within our teams, but in the teams that we operate with on a daily basis. Finally, I think we need to do a better job, and this is something we've talked about at the leadership level, is communicating better. The fact that we have talented folks throughout our agency, but not leveraging each other's abilities and really truly understanding what everybody else's value can be brought to the table. So I think with enhanced communication, getting rid of a silo mentality to the various functions that we have in our practice is going to advance this agency's priorities and goals on a much more advanced basis. So I thank you for your time. I want you to know that I'm in full support of the reboot. It will take some time and it will require your patience, and I thank you for your patience to date. But know this is about serving the people of Texas. That's why we're doing this, and I appreciate your support of this effort. So with that, I'll turn it over to Anne.
How's everyone doing today? Good. Well, good afternoon. Commissioner Bush, thank you very much for your remarks. 20 days ago, we talked about how we're rebooting the General Land Office to meet the new challenges of a 21st century Texas. I promised you details that day, and today I'm here to deliver. 20 days ago, we talked about how the GLO has always adjusted with the times. Management styles and organizational charts that made sense in years past may not make sense now. We live in a networked world where you can get your job done here, you can see what your friends and family are doing on the other side of the great state of Texas, or even across the world, and all in real time. The fact is, the networked world requires organizations like ours to be more agile, to be more responsive, less about internal fiefdoms, and more about getting things done across divisions. The network world requires this agency to serve our wonderful state, from the coast to Big Bend, from El Paso to Texarkana, from Amarillo to Brownsville. The networked world requires a networked land office, making us like an agile special forces of Texas government. So we are rebooting the land office to create a team of teams. Reinventing the GLO as a team of teams will do several things. It will break down information silos. It will break out floors as it breaks down walls. In the past, a manager might make himself or herself relevant and powerful by doling out little bits of information here and there, but never empowering others with the full picture. This keeps them at the center of that picture. Unfortunately, that leads to mistrust, frustration, a lack of ownership, poor communication, and more often than not, failure on some level. This reboot will require a significant, disciplined sharing of information on a great scale across our entire agency. We must rebuild trust between divisions. We will share successors, probably a couple failures as well, but they will be shared. And I don't and won't suffer individuals who sit on their laurels or count on their connections to get by. I think of the GLO kind of like a dog sled team. We each have to pull our own weight and that of the sled, which means we must trust one another to balance out our respective strengths and weaknesses to get the job done and to get it done well. No one gets or is entitled to a free ride on this sled. We all march together, in sync and with a shared common goal, driving us onward. In other words, we will undergo a culture change that will take some time and a very concerted effort on all fronts. But we can and will do it because we share a common purpose and a common goal. This common goal and this common purpose is to provide outstanding customer service to Texans, to our colleagues, and to find new ways to deliver those services and benefits. So we're going to get away from centralized, top-down management and control. That's inflexible in a world that requires more flexibility. No more silos. We need a flatter, faster, and more efficient organization. So we are rebooting to create it. Our teams will work together towards specific goals and on specific projects, and we will share more information and become extremely transparent within our agency. General Stanley McChrystal calls this shared consciousness. And truth be told, as some of you may have already found out, I'm a fan of oversharing. We're already seeing examples of how shared consciousness improves GLO operations. Formerly, land office asset inspectors and energy inspectors lived and worked in different silos, even though their paths might cross often in the field. Now, the 8 coastal asset inspectors, who mostly inspect piers and coastal leases, and the 5 uplands asset inspectors have been cross-trained to assist with energy lease inspections. More eyes on GLO energy leases will mean more money for the PSF. Currently, land office royalty and VLB auditors live and work in different silos, even though their paths often cross out of necessity with folks in those program areas. Going forward, royalty auditors, formerly in financial management, will move back to energy so that they can work closely with petroleum engineers. VLB homes will gain an auditor who also used to reside in financial management to help them better manage and ensure the quality of care that our Texas veterans are receiving in our homes. More eyes on GLO energy leases, again, means more money for the PSF. More eyes on the vet homes will mean better quality of care for our veterans. The bottom line, better utilization of GLO assets, which is you, our staff, results in higher returns for Texas taxpayers. Teamwork built around projects and increased information sharing is liberating. It pushes leadership opportunities out to some of our more talented staff, which creates upward mobility. It gives us finish lines and achievements to strive for. It gives you the opportunity to hone your skills, to propose and run with new ideas and approaches, and to shine. And if that sounds like more responsibility, you're right, it is. But that's good. With responsibility comes opportunity, fair opportunity. Hard work, exemplary conduct, and a positive attitude will get you very far in this agency, and I hope that that is a welcome message. Teamwork across divisions will require more of you. You'll have to be more flexible and more adaptable. You'll have to step up and take more ownership of your work, but you will also be empowered to make more decisions and solve more problems down at the most lowest of staff levels. Teamwork requires more of managers as well. Micromanaging is out. Amassing personal power, out. Collaboration across divisions is in. Managers will have to think forward and with flexibility. You may lead on some tasks and just advise on others. Instead of being central authority figures, I expect managers to create a broader environment in which a manager or their team may not always get their way, but the people of Texas always get the best of what we can give them because that's what we're here to do. Our reboot will also clean up some lines of programs and management within the GLO. We want to get the right people with the right skills back in the right places on the org charts. We want the focus to be on programs and functionality. We will lessen the number of direct reports per manager, which will create more leadership opportunities and empower staff to think and to grow. This means that under our reboot, some boxes on the org chart may be removed. Please remember, org charts are not sacred. Our organization should be a reflection of what we are doing and why, not necessarily how good someone has been at building a kingdom within the agency. Mission performance, not personalities or office politics, will drive our new lines of management and personnel. In order to address this new way of working, we will revamp the agency's evaluation and appraisal processes and how salary actions are awarded. And as we promised before, this will mean that we realign salaries with job classifications and duties. We will all get paid for what we do. So what will that mean? As I mentioned on July 7th, we are rebooting the GLO into 3 major divisions: Asset Enhancement, Veterans Land Board, and Coastal Protection. We will reboot both our structure and our management. Those 3 positions, we can queue up. Those 3 positions will be posted externally beginning next Monday, August the 3rd. I encourage anyone inside and outside of this agency who meets the minimum qualifications to apply. I'm looking forward to getting a very robust pool of candidates. When those 3 leaders are chosen, we will move to the second round of postings, wherever they may be needed. I anticipate that process beginning in middle to late September. And with those 3 senior deputy directors taking significant ownership and responsibility for the composition and shape of our rebooted teams. These postings may be internal or external. Another round of postings may follow, looking at areas where leadership or subject matter expertise are needed to fill any gaps that may remain. I anticipate this being the last round of reboot postings, which should take place in late October. Similarly, these may be internal or external, depending upon what our needs dictate. When all is said and done, the reboot process will conclude by the end of this calendar year. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat this next part. Realigning our organization may translate into some limited staff reductions. Some positions may be eliminated, for instance, to minimize the duplication of duties. We will take an objective, consistent, and analytical look at that. And here's another part I won't sugarcoat. In some cases, this reboot may mean readjusting some salaries to get us back in line with what is best and justifiable for the GLO. For most, changing a job title will not change compensation one way or another. It merely brings the GLO in line with the state's job classification system. For some, that might mean raises to bring duties and salaries into alignment. For others, well, some of us might have to take haircuts. And we will approach this fairly and consistently with applied criteria that is the same across the board. None of us are exempt, and that includes me. I'm voluntarily taking a 13% pay cut because it's the right thing to do and it gets me in line with other similarly classified staff in other state agencies. If you're retirement eligible, this reorganization will not impact the retirement incentive program that we have previously outlined. Please refer to the email that was sent out several weeks ago for details, and always consult with ERS if you're unsure as to whether or not you are eligible. So this does leave a couple of outstanding questions which I would like to address. First, not everything is changing. For a number of GLO staff, your jobs and division business practices won't be directly impacted by the reboot. For the time being, the old org charts are online and will remain there until we have finished the reboot. However, we will post new org charts to keep you up to date on what's happening, but with the caveat that they might be subject to change until the reboot is indeed complete. As such, what you see behind you may be different from what you're used to. Business remains the same until you're contacted by a manager who tells you otherwise. Candidly, that probably won't happen until the Asset Enhancement, Coastal Protection, and VLB Senior Deputy Directors are chosen. So for the time being, keep doing what you're doing, and thank you so much for your patience. Next, Coastal and DR will remain unchanged for now. I'm evaluating the structure and the goals of these groups and of the GLO to determine if Coastal and DR would be more effective separated or combined. Again, for those of you who are in those two areas, please maintain your normal business practices and management structure until told otherwise. And lastly, while I know I've answered a number of your questions, I am sure that there are a number that remain. I would ask that you please contact our Ombudsman, Tony Hansen, with any questions you may have. The plan is to compile the questions that come into his office in order to maintain your confidentiality, but also to provide an opportunity for me to respond to common questions via all GLO emails. I hope this facilitates the flow of communication in both directions. Tony will send out an all GLO email later this week with instructions as to how to submit your questions about the reorg. The General Land Office must keep changing in this networked world, and we've got to stay ahead. This is a lot of change, but I can assure you it is a change with a purpose. The world is changing faster than ever, and no one person can know everything. Centralized authority just doesn't work the way it used to anymore. Teams harness knowledge and talent together and create a more effective force. And the end game for rebooting the GLO is to create a more agile, more capable, more flexible agency so that we will do a better job meeting the needs of Texans. You, the staff of the GLO, are the agency's most important resource and asset. It is a privilege to work with you and for you. I'm immensely grateful to you for the hard work and dedication you've shown through this process and over the past 7 months. And I'm excited to have the opportunity with you to move our agency in a direction that empowers each individual to do his and her very best work. Thank you all so much for your time and for your continued work on behalf of the great state of Texas.